Hi, and welcome to the Bitter BM podcast. I'm Felicia, Bitter BM, and here I speak about all the things that made me bitter. Now, I'm not knocking all those things, I'm just giving my perspective, my opinion, and how I felt during those situations. And at the end of the day, those things made me into the wonderful, charismatic, funny, beautiful young lady that I am today. So I'm not knocking it, but I am going to speak and be honest about my experience. So I'm going to be honest and don't call the police on me because my children never call the police on me. And I'll be damned if one of y'all set me up and call the police on me. But in growing up in an abused home, I was abusive to my kids. So I was yelling at them, not cursing them out because I just thought that was crazy how my mom would like curse me out like that. But I definitely gave them whoopings. I definitely yelled. I was definitely overly aggressive. I wasn't compassionate. I wasn't very emotional. I wasn't like really in tune to their needs growing up. And I don't know when. Sorry, my house is a little bit warm because it's like the fall's coming up, so the heat is on. In the earlier years I was like that, and then at some point I had an epiphany moment and I said, hey, you actually can't go around treating your kids like this, because I recognized the relationship I had with my mother, and I definitely knew that I did not want to have that relationship with my kids growing up. As I stated before, two of my mom's children are a little bit estranged from her, one of them being me. And I love my kids so much. Like, I literally could not see my life without them, and not being in their lives, not being able to communicate with them, not checking up on them, not knowing everything that was happening that they're willing to share with me, right? I couldn't imagine my life being like that, having kids. So I started to soften up a bit, and I started to just try to be an overall better person. I stopped whooping them, stopped cussing them. I got to the point now where I could actually talk to my kids. At one point, they didn't like want to talk to me, obviously, because they had bad experiences in the past, which I totally understand. But now I'm able to talk to them. They can talk to me if they want. Like, I definitely have created a more open atmosphere within my home for my kids, something I never had growing up. I for sure never felt like I could go to my mom with anything, like, because I thought I was going to get in trouble. I thought I would get blamed for whatever the situation is. And at times where I had to like call her, I remember I had to call her when something like really bad happened to me, and she showed up with a friend, and she literally said something out loud that, how can you embarrass your own kid like that? That was embarrassing to me. I kept quiet. It was embarrassing to me, but I always remember that she said that out loud, and somebody that, this person ain't my daddy. Like, why are you telling my business in front of this person? Like, very inappropriate, very out of pocket. That's just how my mom has always behaved with me. And my kids are actually a little bit nervous. Like, when my eldest has a friend, and she told her friend that I'm a little bit unpredictable in what it is that I say. But the truth is, I would never embarrass my kids in public the way my mom embarrassed me. And anything I'm gonna say it to them first, because I need their approval. Now, there's a running joke in my house between myself and my eldest daughter, where she says she's gonna put me in an old age home, and I've been telling these kids since they were young that I'm not going. I'm gonna have to spend 6 months in one person's home, 6 months in the other person's home, and that's just how we're gonna have to do it. But she told her friend that I'm a little bit unpredictable, or at least I can be unpredictable, but I would never say something to embarrass my kids. I'm not trying to lose my kids over something I said, something I did, something they didn't approve of. That's how much I value the relationship I have with my own kids. And I feel like there are a lot of parents that don't value the relationship they have with their kids, and they take it for granted because the child is the child. And you know the old adage, you know, respect your parents, da 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 da, it's in the Bible, all that good stuff. But then I feel like the respect for children is not reciprocated, and then once the adults are older, they expect to get all this praise and all this grace from children who they treated like very terribly. I can understand how people have trauma and they're not able to get over it, but the key for me is, are you trying? Are you trying to do better? Are you trying to get over your trauma so that you can actually have a better relationship with your kids? Are you trying to actually improve yourself as a person? Forget doing it for the kids. Are you trying to improve yourself as a person so you're not miserable, you're not angry, you're not sad, all those things that don't make you feel good about yourself? I was there. Trust and believe, I was there. I was depressed in my early 20s because I didn't graduate high school. All of my friends were like in college and doing their things. I was one of the first people to have kids in the entire group of people I've come across. I know other people had kids young too, but I was like one of the very first. And so I will admit, it didn't make me feel good to know that I had 2 kids at 20 and I was in a relationship with a man 10 years my age that was like cheating on me and taking advantage of the fact that I was young. I didn't feel good about that. And so I can remember being very depressed. I used to worry a lot. I used to think all these bad things were going to happen to me. But guess what? Over time, I had to work on myself mentally and change the way I think, change the way I did things so that I could get to where I am today. And that's just something I want to say to the parents who haven't been able to overcome like hurt or pain they've experienced with their children's father or trauma they experienced earlier on in their life. You have to try to get over it. And I'm not saying it's going to be an easy process. It's definitely a long process. It's been 20 years since I knew that I needed therapy to the point where I actually got therapy. I knew I needed therapy in my early 20s. I actually went to the doctor once and asked to see a psychiatrist. I got the referral, but I didn't show up because I was so terrified of the things that I had to face mentally. And I started getting therapy this year, actually, 2024. 2024? No, it's 2025, my bad. I started getting therapy last year, 2024. And it was the best decision I made. I'm definitely not trying to be bitter into my 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Because what type of life is that? Who trying to be bitter all their life? Not me, sis. Not me. So I'm very, very much an advocate for therapy. I tell my kids to go to therapy because I recognize that, I've also probably traumatized them with my ill behavior when they were younger. I understood that, and I've told them to go to therapy. I'm not gonna. Why would I not want my kids to be the most successful person they can be for themselves? I'm always looking to change. I believe in self-development so much. Like, if you're not growing, if you're not trying to improve on your life, improve on the type of person you are, improve on every single characteristic that can affect you mentally, physically, just your entire being, what are you doing? I don't think a lot of parents realize how important they are to their kids and the fact that they are their children's first role models and that their kids are actually watching everything that they do. Yeah, they say it, but I feel like when parents are in the situation, when they're being parents, they're not taking that into account. And that's something I always try to be conscious of. Like, hey, your kids are watching. Don't do these things, or stop doing this, or try to do this. I definitely learned the lessons from getting pregnant as a teen mom. I knew after my second kid, like, this was it. I didn't want any more kids. I wasn't going to do the multiple baby daddy things. And I'm not knocking women who have more than one child's father. I'm just saying the BS I was experiencing with the first one, there was no way I was going to risk having to go through that with somebody else and actually have both of them in my life terrorizing me. There was just no way. I had to learn that lesson real quick and fast, and I'm very happy I did. Me knowing what I didn't have growing up, and then me saying to myself, hey, do you want better for your kids or not? And the answer for me was yes. And that was the motivation for me to try to change. No, I didn't go to therapy, but I started to soften up my heart. Like I said, I grew up in a household with a mother that was non-expressive, didn't talk, didn't show emotion, didn't hug us. Well, she hugged my youngest brother, her youngest son. She didn't hug me and my other brother, didn't tell us that she loved us. Not that I can recall. I cannot recall my mom telling me she loved me ever in my life. Even that, I had to learn how to tell my own kids I love them and be comfortable with that feeling. Can you imagine having kids and having a hard time saying you love them even though you know that you do? Like, that was me. Now I don't have a problem saying it. I love you. I love you. I could hug them. I couldn't even hug them at one point. And I know that was from the trauma I experienced of not being hugged, not being loved. You know how they talk about, you have to show babies a lot of affection. I feel like I was not a neglected baby. I was a neglected child, 100%. I experienced neglect growing up. And that showed up a lot in my children's early lives. Not the neglect, but not being able to show them any emotion. My kids were always taken care of, clean, fully dressed, did their schoolwork, went to school, went to daycare, all that good stuff. But the household environment wasn't the best. Me and their father, like, I was always, we were on and off so much. Like, I was always trying to break up with him because I was just so tired of him being around me. And I was like questioning out, my frontal lobe was starting to develop in my early 20s, and I started to recognize some things. I was like, what kind of life is this? What kind of life is this? Like, I don't want this. And he didn't like that. He definitely wanted to keep me close and grew me and turned me into whatever it is he wanted. The baby mom that was gonna have all his kids. And I was like, no thanks. You're gonna have to have them kids with other people because I'm not interested. I wasn't interested in that life. But the household environment wasn't the best. We would argue, and he never put his hands on me on stuff, but he would argue. There's a lot of like emotional abuse and mental abuse. And I was just like, ugh. I can see now where my kids were like seeing that, and I didn't want to see them to see like us in an abusive relationship, because I also knew that would affect them terribly as well. The thing is, a lot of kids that see their parents being abused end up being abusers or end up being in abusive relationships, and I didn't want either. So I had to call it quits when I did. I don't think a lot of parents realize or are cognizant of how their behaviors actually affect their children. And I think that if more parents actually spent the time to take stock of what it is that they're doing, what they're presenting in front of their children, what it is that they are essentially modeling for their kids, I think it would make people behave a little differently, because I had to really look at how and what behaviors I was modeling for my own two daughters and said, hey, I don't want this to happen to my daughter. I don't want what happened to me happen to my kids.